Before talking about warrant Articles 13 and 14, let's take a minute to remind ourselves of why we are doing this. Here is Sargam Noria, who has just graduated from Acton-Boxborough Regional High School.
Let's imagine a future in which we have dealt successfully with climate change. In that world, we are using so few fossil fuels that all their greenhouse gas emissions, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and so on, are absorbed easily by healthy oceans, plant life, and soils. Our atmosphere is in balance again, and our climate is stable enough that weather just has normal variations from season to season in that steady way that allows civilization to flourish. When we voted overwhelmingly at last fall's town meeting to declare a climate emergency, we were voting that we wanted Acton residents, governments, and businesses all to do their best to lead us to that future, which means net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. These articles are a solid local start to avoiding a calamitous future from accelerating climate change. They are a first and important step toward that much better future I just described.
One path to that future can be described in this simplified greenhouse gas reduction plan that can be applied to any sector or region. 1. Use less energy. 2. Switch the remaining energy use to electricity. And 3. Clean up our electricity supply by switching to renewables. Now, another time we can talk about what Acton is doing for parts 1 and 3. Now we're talking about electrification. Another time we can talk about the other major sources of greenhouse gas emissions in Acton, such as transportation. Now we're talking about electrifying our buildings, which cause 41% of Acton's greenhouse gas emissions. Article 13 is a new bylaw and is an important first step that moves us toward the use of much cleaner electric energy technologies, such as highly efficient cold climate heat pumps for heating and cooling in new construction and major renovation projects, rather than fossil-fueled systems, such as those that use gas, oil, or propane. This transition off of fossil fuels will not happen all at once, but we need to start as soon as possible, because there are important limits in how fast we can go. First, builders can ask for waivers from the town in cases where current technology or prices require fossil fuels to make a use feasible. Next, the bylaw doesn't come into effect unless and until the state legislature passes enabling legislation. If the legislature does allow this, then Arlington, Lexington, Concord, Newton, Cambridge, and other cities and towns that have taken this same approach will have their building electrification bylaws enabled as well. Finally, this is only about new buildings and major rehabilitation projects. I'd like to address some concerns that have come up. For example, how do we know that these sorts of buildings are possible and affordable? So let's hear from Mark Dowdy, principal of ThoughtForms, Inc., architects and builders right here in West Acton.
So many modern all-electric buildings have been built already, thousands nationwide and millions around the world. I know from my own experience that modern heat pumps can easily heat and cool well-insulated and air-sealed buildings without any backup heating systems, at building and operating prices that are comparable or lower than what we're seeing in terms of fossil fuel heating and cooling systems. This has been shown in national studies, and I've seen it firsthand at ThoughtForms, where we've built dozens of these homes. And I can affirm that new homes with modern electric systems are easier and less expensive to build and operate now than the fossil-fueled homes, and healthier. Builders and other tradespeople are becoming aware that dealing with climate change means no longer using fossil fuels, and those that are adapting their practices to meet these new requirements are getting ready for our future.
Thanks, Mark. Some have expressed concerns about impacts on multifamily and other affordable housing. I want you to know that the engineers and architects working with the Acton Housing Authority on the proposed multifamily housing on Main Street have already recommended electricity for heating and cooling because those systems make financial sense. This bylaw would not have changed that analysis. Now, domestic hot water for large buildings over 10,000 square feet currently does require natural gas to keep the operating costs feasible. So the bylaw has an expedited waiver process for hot water in large buildings, and the Main Street project would be able to use that. The bylaw also requires the town to consider the nonprofit status of housing builders when evaluating waiver requests. In other words, This bylaw was written to allow us to continue to build affordable housing. Some have expressed concerns about not having natural gas in new homes for cooking. What's changed in the last few years is that all electric induction stovetops have dropped in price and proven very popular among chefs. Let's talk to Humsha Naidu, creator of the popular cooking show Flavorful Eats on ActonTV. Humsha Naidu, thank you for bringing me into your ActonTV kitchen so we can talk about induction stovetops.
Oh wow, I'm just ecstatic that you're interested in induction stove. Not many people want to even hear the word induction, leave alone knowing about it, you know. So it's I'm glad to be the one bringing that to your notice.
Excellent. So I'm looking here. This looks like an old-fashioned electric stovetop, but I know that it's not. I know it's an induction stovetop. So that there are magnets in here, and if you have cookware that you can put any cookware that magnets will stick to will work on an induction stovetop. Is that right?
Oh, especially if you're entering Acton.
Yes, entering Acton, right there. And so it just sits there and can heat quickly and easily. And what else do you see as the advantages of working with an induction?
One of, besides being, you know, not gas, you smell, you know, from the smell itself that it's not good for your health.
Yeah, that's right. Gas is explosive. Gas is poisonous. I'm really glad that people can do cooking without having that in their house.
All right, I'm going to, only because this takes like a minute, I'm going to put the power on and I'm going to try and demonstrate how one can make chocolate melt without the use of a double boiler.
Oh, perfect.
And you know, when water from the double boiler gets into the chocolate, you actually spoil it. I put it at number 3, and I'm gonna, you know, bring it down to maybe 2, between 3 and 2. And you know, this is one of the times where you can just put your chocolate in there, go away, and come back. You're not going to get burnt chocolate.
That's amazing.
It is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the other good thing is you know, I have little grandchildren. Can
it's
you see
it's already soft.
Yes, it's already soft. But yes, it takes like a minute to get soft. So
wow.
The power of the camera. So. And in no time it is soft. You don't even have to stir. I'm just stirring to show how quickly this can happen. And I can hold this. And if my grandson is standing right here,
oh
he
yeah,
can
that's
hold
not hot
it.
at all.
It's not hot at all.
Yeah, yeah.
The heat is just at the bottom of the pan, and it's transferred to the cooking, to the stuff that's cooking. So you're not having any. And if I have to put it, let me demonstrate again. If I had to put this right here,
that's flammable.
see?
Oh, but it's not. Yeah, nothing's happening.
Nothing
to
happened.
it.
See,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so much safer that way.
Absolutely safer that way.
Yeah.
And think about the air we're breathing in. You know.
That's right. There's no gases coming off of this thing. It's just energy going directly to the pot to heat it up.
And you can see it's nice and shiny. It's not sticking to the pot. Like, you know, I know people like to put this in the microwave too. And sometimes if you put it too high or you put it too low, or even 1 second too much, you get little grainy. You get very grainy chocolate.
Oh, that's no good. Yeah.
Most people would use water to show an example of how an induction stove works. It's like within 30 seconds, I think, the water can boil.
It is amazing how quickly the little bubbles show up, and it can bubble a lot. And then the other thing I notice is that as soon as I turn off the induction stovetop, if it's boiling water, it stops boiling.
So like the gas stove, where you can get to the number, like, you know, if you want something number 1 and you got that little flame, and you can get the temperature to your stove or your plate, the same way you got this to this thing here. If you want something to be cooked very fast, you put it at number 10 in this case, and if you want it medium, then number 5, and you're getting that amount of heat, and you switch it off at the end of it, it's not cooking anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so you're not spoiling your food at all. And you can see this is nice red, nice and melted right now. And I would not think twice of bringing my little 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 1-year-old actually to stand right next to me and help me with this little thing like this.
Can I help with this too?
Oh, absolutely. Please do take the little one and do that. So we just do that, you know, just take it and swirl it into your chocolate, whichever way you want, you know, just be careful with the, and then just, so that's it. And then I'm going to poke it in here just because I feel like I just want to do it there. You can too.
Well, thanks so much for telling us all about induction stoves and why everyone should be happy to have one. And we're looking forward to that.
And I need to tell you one last thing.
Good.
The longest time we were speaking, we got this on number 3. It's on, it's baking, but can you see it didn't burn?
That's right. That's right.
So it's time to switch
and
it
it
off.
stayed exactly soft enough. It's not like a double boiler where if we walked away, if we turned off the water, it would get hard again. We can have it at just the right temperature to keep it soft.
Even if you put it off right now, the heat of the thing would, the heat of the actual pot will keep it long for a longer time. So I
Nice.
could do something else and come back, and
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah. And please join me, Sargam, Mark, Humsha, and many of your neighbors in voting for Articles 13 and 14 and for a better future starting now.